Hey guys, my name's Nova, this is Film Express, and today we're going to be talking about the new Payal Kabadia film, All We Imagine As Light. Let's dive right in. Guys, All We Imagine As Light has been taking the festival world by storm. It's basically a critical darling at this point, and you might have heard about this film because it seems like everyone is talking about All We Imagine As Light. It's undeniable that this film has captured the hearts of so many critics and audience members alike. I can definitely see why. There are so many beautiful and tender moments in this film, and this film is super compassionate and super loving with something very, very powerful to say. All We Imagine As Light is a solid film, but it does come with a few issues as well. I really think that the first act was something breathtaking and tender and unique and powerful. It unfortunately got bogged down by a very sluggish and lifeless second act. Kind of just fizzled into something that you could basically consider melodramatic or very much akin to a soap opera by the end of the film. What I really like about the film is when it focused on the monotony of life and how different women of different stages in their lives have to deal with relationships in the large metropolitan city of Mumbai. But at the same time, it feels like while the film attempted to make commentaries on these things, it really wasn't about anything too specific at times, and it found itself meandering through themes and scenes. It just tried to do too much, and at times it tried to be about everything, while it really should have just focused on these women and what it means to be those women trying to find love, trying to deal with relationships in Mumbai, in this modern version of Mumbai. It's so powerful when it talks about being unfulfilled in relationships and trying to find that fulfillment in yourself instead of the love and the partnerships that you can have. It's more about loving yourself, which I think more films should be about these days. It's really about how sometimes we can have these fantasies about how we want our life to turn out and about how we think a relationship with somebody can turn out. But then the realities, the harsh realities of our world can often crumble down these ideas and break them down into something way more grounded, but also something that we don't expect. It's about what we imagine as light, right? The title says it right there, but it's also about how sometimes the world can dim that light very, very quickly. It's really beautiful and tender and sad at times, but it's also so realistic and so well thought out. It feels like an authentic view at the city of Mumbai. The way they show it in this film, you can feel the heat of the city, you can kind of smell the smells of the city, and that to me is a film that is well directed because it immerses you in the locations. It makes you understand the traditions and the taboos the characters have had to live with and they're facing constantly with their every decision. It gets you in that mindset so that all of their actions and their character decisions hit so much harder just because of that setting and because of the culture that the film is placed in. Most of the film is very, very much based in realism. You have a couple of touches of formalism here and there, but most of the film is like a docudrama. It also very much feels like you're a fly on the wall sometimes. It has a very contemplative approach. It takes things very, very slow and makes you really, really ponder on the weight of certain things as they happen. Because of that, you also have moments in the film where I really feel like the film loses focus and loses touch. But also because of that, there are long stretches of the film where it really feels like they lose steam and they lose focus of these very powerful themes to give us moments that detract from the overall meaning and overall themes of the film. It's like sometimes it focuses so much on giving us a slice of life, but it's not worried about if that slice is contributing to the overall taste and flavors of the themes. You know, if I'm taking that slice metaphor further, you could be more selective about what you're showing, especially on a film with a runtime like this. You know, you can very much pick and choose what to edit in the film, what to cut out of a script. So I feel like maybe an extra draft, a higher standard of storytelling could have, in my opinion, made this a masterpiece and a timeless one at that. Because of certain scenes that don't contribute to the themes as well, I ended up unfortunately having to knock this down a couple ratings. It caused a little bit of a disconnect because I'd get so immersed in one scene and one character only for it to jump somewhere else. And again, I feel like I'm kind of scrambling to understand what the film is trying to portray within these scenes. I personally think of myself as somebody who's very good at discerning cinematic language, and I think that I can really easily pick up on a theme of a scene, mostly while watching it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of pondering, but I can really sponge up the meanings. I feel like All We Imagine As Light was lacking a little bit of a polish from a more experienced director and a more experienced storyteller, so that every scene snowballed the themes into something way more worthwhile. Unfortunately, like by the end, I was really disappointed with how the film took a turn towards what I could consider like soap opera narratives, you know? There was a scene with she's nursing a man back to health and they have this connection. I feel like I've seen this scene so many times in the history of film, you know, where somebody is nursing somebody back to health after an injury. They have this moment of intimacy and bonding, you know. You've seen that in so many movies. So I really feel like a scene like that really just kind of felt like it was tacked on. They never tried to think of a more interesting way to tell the story. It really kind of just took the cliche formulaic approach. I can also see how that can be effective in a different country where, you know, maybe that scene isn't done once a year in mainstream Hollywood or Bollywood, right? So if you look at it through the lens of like Indian cinema, maybe it works better than what I'm giving it credit for. I'm very much willing to understand it and see it that way as well. You know, I just personally never felt too connected to the characters or their struggles, and that might be a little bit of the cultural disconnect as well. It's a lot of storylines and relationship beats that I feel like so many people go through, but it's attempting to make them feel and seem like the end of the world for this character, and it's also making it seem way more dramatic than it usually is. Again, that's just my perspective on love and relationships and dating. None of it was that profound, none of that was that deep or intense. You know, you have this storyline with the house builders and the deed of the house. Ultimately felt like it was just kind of added on and tacked on at the end for me. It really didn't feel too fleshed out. It's mentioned in a couple of lines of dialogue and then really never brought up again. I really feel like this could have been, you know, a 5 out of 5 movie, a classic film to recommend to almost any woman, and at this point it becomes just sort of average, but it doesn't all come together as a full picture. One of the biggest criticisms I have about this film is the camera work. It really felt like everything was way too close, almost in your face most of the time, and a lot of shaky cam. When you couple very, very close zoom lenses with shaky cam, it can be nauseating at times. It really took me out of a few scenes. Like I just wanted them to kind of pull the camera back or change lenses. But that's, again, me being super technical with some of the experience that I have in film production and camera work as well. Not everyone is going to notice that as a flaw, but to me, it was something that ruined some really beautiful scenes where I just wanted to see everything. I wanted to see all the characters in the frame and not just like a really zoomed in close up of their faces. It comes down to this, you know, if you're going to make a story about Mumbai and you want it to be a universal story about love in Mumbai, pull it back a little bit. Don't give us this claustrophobic view of 2 select characters. Expect us to build the picture around them, you know, pulling that camera back a little bit, having nicer wide compositions, you know, here and there. It doesn't have to be all the time, but that could have gone a long way to remind us we're in Mumbai, remind us of the locations, get us an understanding of the geographical setting as well, because the better you are at displaying these factors to your audience, the better they can imagine themselves being in that room and being those characters. And it opens up this like door of relatability that I just wish more directors would utilize. In my opinion, you know, not everything needs to be a zoom in, not everything needs to be up in your face portrait shots. Back it up a little bit, do some nice compositions, and that could go a long way. Overall, I really do think that All We Imagine Is Light is worth watching. It's still a very, very beautiful, compassionate, tender story with a unique lens into Mumbai. I just personally wish that it did a little bit more, that it had a little bit more focus, and that it didn't hold itself back from delving into some even harsher realities about relationships, love, and the unfulfillment that can come with it. So guys, those are my thoughts on All We Imagine Is Light, one of the better Indian films I've seen in the past couple years. Even with all my criticisms, I still think it was a fantastic watch, and it made me think about a lot of unique things. So with that being said, guys, my name is Nova. This is Film Express. Please like, please subscribe, please drop some comments down below. Let me know what you thought of All We Imagine Is Light. Am I being too harsh on this movie? Am I being too kind on this movie? You guys let me know. Let's talk about it in the comments. Catch you guys on the next one. See ya.